Hey peeps, Team Eminence Smallchildlord here, and in this video, I would like to talk about switching characters. It's quite a difficult thing to do, but sometimes necessary in order to achieve your goals. I'll go over whether and why you should switch, what character to switch to, and how to actually transition. This relies on a lot of factors. You need to take into account your personal goals as well as the character you are currently playing. The most obvious example of switching being necessary is when you want to be a top player but play a low tier. It's very difficult to get to a top level if your character simply doesn't have the tools to consistently beat others at that level. Another reason you may want to switch is if you simply don't like your current character. Even if your goal is to be at a top level, enjoying your character is an important part of the game. Smash isn't a very big esport, so if you don't enjoy it, there really isn't much of an incentive to keep grinding. If you're playing a high tier you enjoy, then you will likely never need to switch until you get to a level where you're probably not going to be watching this. What you want to do is figure out what parts of your current character you enjoy and others that you are willing to deal with. There are no perfect characters, and chances are you aren't going to find yours. You'll often have to settle with something that's good enough. Sometimes you'll find the right character in the first couple of tries, but most of the time it will take a lot of trial and error. The first step is obviously to start playing the character a lot. However, there's a lot to learn about a character, and switching can be a very daunting task. Do not take your character into bracket immediately unless you don't mind a dip in results. You need to analyze many aspects of a character, what they're good at, their combos, and a few other things. Though the most important things to know are a character's neutral tools. How a character anti-airs, pokes, and whiff punishes are all very important. Go into training mode, learn what's fast, what's slow, and what's trash. You want to have a basic understanding of everything the character has whenever you actually go into the game. When you have that understanding, you'll have to go through the same improvement process you did with your previous character. Play, take notes, get coaching, and implement. Go into your character's Discord and go straight to the resources channel and metagame. Sometimes the general chat of a character's Discord is fine, but most of the time it isn't worth bothering. If you want to learn a character as fast as possible, it's not recommended that you crunch time and just learn everything. You need to learn in increments and actually implement what you learn in actual games. This is for a few reasons, and gaining the skills that allow players like Tweak to switch characters and gain proficiency very quickly will help you in your general gameplay, not just when it comes to switching characters. The first thing these players have is a very strong understanding of fundamentals and neutral. I went over what fundamentals were in a previous video, but the summary is that the fundamentals are based off of two core ideals. First is that nothing anyone does is reactable. This means that you are generally forced to predict what your opponent is doing rather than react. The second is that everything is counterplay, be it direct or indirect. Being able to quickly assess what your opponent is going to do and figure out the counterplay based on your knowledge is key to fundamentals. Knowing how your opponent could be using fundamentals is also very important. The second thing that top players do in order to switch characters is they adapt to the character's playstyle. This should be a given, but being able to quickly change your style on the fly based on your character is important to being able to switch to that character. Knowing a character's main strengths and weaknesses, then playing around them is the crux of being proficient at that character. Many people have a lot of failure when trying to pick up a character. This is oftentimes because they aren't familiar with a character, so they start mad-libbing their play with a bit of mashing thrown in there. You need to learn a character's actual game plan and stop trying to shoehorn in a flowchart that won't work. Learning a character's options and then getting used to them to a point where you don't need to think too hard about when to use it is key to making sure you don't drop when you need to make an important decision in the middle of a game. Being proficient with only one or two sequences is going to make every part of the game a lot more difficult. This is why you may be very able to adapt and make decisions with one character, but when you try to play another one, you seem to be unable to do anything. That is your analysis paralysis getting to you and forcing you into a situation where you may have a lot of options, but the right one is never clear because of the lack of experience that you hold. Make sure that you deliberately implement options in scenarios where they are useful so that when the time comes to do that option, you aren't going to freeze and do something entirely different. If you don't know what to do, then ask people who are better than you at the character you're trying to learn. Make sure to get specific too. You aren't going to get a good answer for a bad question. Asking how to play a character directly is like trying to use a map that's too large for the area you're in. You might get a general direction as to where to go, but the specifics are going to be muddled and it's not going to be much use outside of that. Ask specific questions to both others and yourself, and make sure to implement the answers you get. That is the very core to improving not only at a character, but at the game as a whole. Switching characters can be quite difficult, but sometimes is a requirement to move forward. These guidelines are a pretty good outline, but nothing beats trial and error and personal reflection. With a good understanding of fundamentals and the ability to adapt to a character, you'll probably be good at whatever character you want. This has been Switching Characters by Small Child Lord. Please subscribe for more Smash related content.